It feels good to be back, Wilco.
Damn, that was loud.
It was loud. I'm sorry about that. And we do have our special guest waiting in the lobby to join the show very shortly.
Too long.
But before our special guest joins us tonight, I did want to say welcome back to 2022. What a crazy time.
2022.
How have you been?
I've been good. It's not too bad. Cannot wait to jump in and start sharing the things that we have been doing in the last, what is it? How long has it been?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay.
Yep.
And also, of course, it's time to address that contest, that we had last December.
It is. We have a competition to announce today. But how about I introduce our guest?
Yes,
so this awesome person, man, legend, contacted us after he watched our live or our Lust of the Dead stream, and just casually said, "Oh, hey, I worked on this, and cool that you guys are watching it." And we got chatting, and we thought we need to have this. We need to have this guy on our show.
We do.
So his name is Norman England, and he is now going to join us absolutely live from his house somewhere in Tokyo. Norman, please welcome to our.
Thank you very much, Wilco and Dan, for having me. Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, just a little bit.
My name is Norman.
Oh, that was a little bit.
No more. I'll try not to be too dickish. So, I live in Tokyo. I've been living in Japan 29 years. I guess almost up on 30. Coming up on 30. I didn't think I'd hit double digits, but I have. But I can guarantee I will not hit triple digits. But I'm an American from New York, and so I've been doing, I used to be a musician in New York, and I came to Japan. Kind of my band broke up, feeling kind of lost and stuff. But during the bubble time, a lot of Japanese coming into New York City. And they're really nice people, and I'd always been into giant monsters, Japanese giant monsters, and I got into Japan. And then one day I was just like, with my band gone, I was like, screw it, I'm going to do something extreme. And I moved out to Osaka, and I lived there for 9 years.
Wow.
And I've always liked movies. I've always been a movie guy, watching movies, horror movies. My favorite movie is Dawn of the Dead. This says Day of the Dawn, actually. I'm very heavily involved with George Romero stuff in Japan at the moment. I'm like the head of the George A. Romero Foundation Japan chapter here. And I work on laser discs and Blu-rays of Dawn and other films like that. But
do you know Leonard? Leonard Lies?
Leonard Lies, yes. The Machete Zombie, yes, I do know him.
The Machete Zombie, that's true.
I
had
a contact with him
for a while. And he talked to me about his contact in Japan. And I guess we've just found him.
He was talking about me. So.
Yeah.
Okay. This is my friend Daniel. He's also an Australian. So you guys, we have Dan from Australia. He's a very good guy.
Awesome.
But anyway, I came to Japan. I did the English teaching thing, which was actually not so bad. It was a little difficult to adjust to. But the good thing about teaching English in Japan, like in New York, I was working 40, 50 hours a week. Come to Japan, I'm doing 40 hours a month, and I've got like time, and I can use that time for myself. So, I made friends that were movie fans in Osaka and stuff. And then I got invited. Someone heard that I was like a big George Romero expert. So I got hired by Capcom when they made, they were making Biohazard 2, Biohazard 2, and they hired George Romero to direct it. So I met with Capcom, and then we had lunch, and they're like, "Yeah, you want to come out to LA? We pay for everything. You can hang out with George Romero for a week." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I can do that." So, and then when I was there, then that was a dream come true. Thank you, Japan. When I on that set, I met the guy who directed the Sharknado films.
Dan, I'll do a quick IMDb while you guys talk.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm very bad with names, but he was a Fangoria writer at that time. And he said to me, "Oh, I'm doing a story. I don't have photos." And I'm also a photographer, so I was doing a lot of photos on the set. So then he hooked me up with Tony Timpone and Mike Ingold over at Fangoria. And yeah, and then then they started giving me assignments, interview this guy, go to this movie set, go and do this. And it was kind of fortuitous because the J horror boom had really just started. Ring had come out, and I hadn't seen Ring yet, so I wasn't really scared by movies anymore, and I had the company send me a VHS. I watched it one late night in Osaka, and I'm like crying tears of fear watching this thing. I'm like, man, what is going on? What's going on with Japan? Is it side of Japan? I didn't really know, because I've always been into more the science fiction-y side of Japan. So, but because of Fangoria like that, I started going to all the Ju-on sets, a ton of those. And then, then I got involved with Tomomatsu. We're talking about, Lust of the Dead and stuff like that. Yeah. His film Stacy. A friend of mine who was a prop maker on Godzilla. If you guys have seen Stacy, right? Yes,
long time ago though. But yeah, that was one of the cult video entries.
If you remember, there was a TV commercial which I'm in with chainsaws, and there was a figure giveaway, and my friend Sagai built that, and that was he was working on Godzilla. That's how, actually, if we're going to get into that, that's actually how I met Tomomatsu, was through this guy saying, let's go to I want to introduce you guys. So anyway, so blah, 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 doing all these set things for Fangoria. And then finally I was able to give up. I no longer had to teach English anymore. And I started doing subtitling. Actually, it was Nishimura. My first subtitle movie was Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And Nishimura he called me up. He goes, I want you to subtitle my movie. I'm like, what do I know about subtitling? And he's like, you're a writer, right? Right. So okay.
You're a writer. You're English. There you go. You know the language.
On and on and on, and today I make a living doing that, and I do set photography sometimes. A lot of Nishimura films, Iguchi films, the Lust of the Dead films, etc.
Behind the scene work stuff as well, right? Like some filming here and there behind the scenes.
Yeah, and then some behind the scene things. I do those sometimes, but recently now with the pandemic and I'm getting older, that I'm kind of mostly focused in on subtitling and writing. Books. I just had a book come out.
A book? Which book?
I just came out with this, which is my diary.
Can you full screen that down?
I can probably. Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
This is
Godzilla book.
This is about being on Godzilla sets and Gamera sets, and it's like a daily journal of something no one's ever read before. Really, it doesn't even have to be about Godzilla. It's just about the daily life of a Japanese film set and the way the Japanese interact with each other culturally.
Wow.
How they get movies made. And even better, it's Godzilla. Just about it. Except everybody loves Godzilla except you guys.
I like him. But today we want to talk about Lust of the Dead, and we already see that that's going to be your second book. I'm working on my follow-up, and this one is focused on Japanese, because I've been Japanese giant monsters, but I've worked on over 60 sets, in Japan. So I'm working on a follow-up that's basically the idea would be like one chapter, one film set. So be like Ju-on 1, Ju-on 2, The Grudge, Stacy, Lust of the Dead, Tokyo Gore Police, Machine Girl.
I'm go back.
Police. I got with a chair that's peeing on everybody. I'm not in that shot, but I'm in that bar scene. You can see me with my red sunglasses.
I was just going to say, not to go back on a conversation we've already finished, but it was Anthony C. Ferrante who was the director of Sharknado.
Yes. Oh yeah, and then I have a question, because you mentioned that Capcom contacted you for Resident Evil 2. I presume that's the video game you're talking about.
Yes.
And then what did George Romero direct?
He directed the commercial for it.
Oh, the commercial for it. Okay.
They had, I mean, check this out. They had $1.5 million for a 30-second commercial.
Wow.
So good for you, Glenn. Is that?
Yeah, Glenn. Yeah.
Yeah, Glenn.
All right.
But no, I tell people, my joke about it was like that was the end of the bubble economy. $1.5 million bucks. And George said to me on the set, he goes, "It's the most I've had budget I've had for second by second."
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But it was
seems today we're gonna go everything upside down because Norman he warned us and he's now wrong. He rambles, so we're already now quite I think we just have to continue the momentum. Let's continue, and we'll do the pickup talk and what we watched and the giveaway at the end of the show.
Oh yes,
we're now in this, and this is very interesting. So let's continue because
we can't stop this train.
More. Yeah, we cannot stop the train. Tomomatsu, I mean the man. What can you tell us about the man?
Well, yeah, good.
Ooh, that's not a good start.
I mean, the guy, you know, I like the guy. I mean, let me get that. I might say some bad things about him, but I do like him. You know, I mean, he's not a bad guy. I mean, for me, he's very unique individual. He's a very fast talker. He's very confident of himself. He wears the same clothes no matter what. You know, he's always got that army jacket.
Yeah.
You know, you can see.
You have a picture, right, of the set of Stacy?
Yeah, I have many photos. But like, I actually think Tomomatsu lives near me because I saw him walking down the street. There he is, right there.
He can hear you right now.
He has. He's watching now. Tomomatsu, I love you.
Tell us a bit about this photo, Norman.
Well, this is actually from the set of Stacy. So, like I had said before, I got in, this was Gaga. It's a big company in Japan. DVDs, laser discs, not anymore. Blu-rays, CDs, and they had made the Guitar Wolf movie. You know, their zombie film. My friend Dan would know. Why is the name not coming to me? And anyway, they wanted to do, Wild Zero. So they wanted to do, that was very successful for them. So they wanted to do another zombie film. So they hired Tomomatsu to do Stacy. And I don't think they were very happy with it. So they never made a third one.
We can imagine, because that's a completely different movie where Wild Zero is a little artsy. Tomomatsu goes balls to the wall. Like he makes it a Evil Dead type gory movie.
Yeah, they're not like, I mean, Wild Zero, John, he's awesome guy. He worked on one of my movies with Asami. Yes, he's a big Asami fan, like all of us are. But I mean, Wild Zero has a very good cinematic look to it. And Tomomatsu is kind of like, he's not so concerned about the aesthetics of the film. He's just like go, shoot this, shoot that. You know, he doesn't really concern himself so much with the overall, you know, the look, quality of it, you know. And I mean, that's his thing. I mean, he writes very long scripts, and you know, some of the actresses have said to me they love, one of the reasons they like working with him is that his scripts are very intelligent. I don't know if I agree with that, but I guess, I mean, he's a very good writer. He's a very prolific writer. He's written a lot of books in Japan, and books
I must agree with that, because although you cannot maybe not agree with the content, but if we looked at all the Lust of the Dead movies again, back to back, like all 5 of them, and although he kind of rants a little bit here and there about men and women and the differences, it is thought about. It is not just, you know, pure reactionary about, oh, I hate this or I like that. No, it's really about, it's almost philosophical, and maybe you don't agree with it, but at least it's him trying to figure out the issue for himself. At least that's how I perceive it. So yeah, I can agree that he has quite intelligence behind his script, although maybe you don't agree with the content. At least he, you know, he has an idea.
I mean, that's and also, I mean, and both of us, we're both huge George Romero fans. So not to jump ahead of myself. So always on the set, it would be, I'd see something and I'd go, yeah, like in Zombie Jietai, and there's a nightmare set for you. It's like, I don't know, like midnight, everyone's freezing to death and they're ripping a guy apart, but it's the ending of Day of the Dead when Colonel Rhodes is getting his legs ripped off. And I'm like, oh, Day of the Dead. Oh, you're the only one who noticed that. Or, you know, or in Lust of the Dead, he'd have all these references going on, but you know, I'm a Fangoria guy, you know. So like in Lust of the Dead, when the zombie comes in with a giant penis and it breaks into 4 pieces, I'm like, that's the Thing, you know, the dog head in the Thing. He's like, oh, you got that, you're right, you know. So that was like a thing. Like I like that about Tomomatsu, is he puts this, he makes these references to films I love, but they're always like sometimes like the weirdest interpretations of them, you know. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I think the guy is good, but I don't really always agree with what he's coming up with, you know. So that,
but I must say, in a creative way, that makes it new, and that makes it, because okay, I understand the reference, like okay, it's instead of a dog, it's a penis, but how it opens is the same. But to be honest, it is not a dog, it is a penis. So, and that makes it original again. It does make it unique.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
in my
take
opinion.
your word for it.
And I said penis twice, 3rd time now. Great. Thanks for this topic.
I think that's an acceptable word. You could say that in school, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's acceptable. It's just I say it too often.
Yeah.
We've never said it on the show before. I believe this is the first time in 15 episodes.
It's always behind closed doors. Penis all day long.
But I have to say, you know, the Stacy experience is like, I didn't really know Tomomatsu that well, so I spent like, I did a date. I'll have to take. I respect John very much, so I have to take his word.
I agree. It's deep.
I agree too, actually. Yeah,
but yeah, it is. In okay, I can admit it, in a Tomomatsu kind of way. Yes, it is.
Yes,
it might be done in a bit of a crass kind of way, but you know, there's conversations about nuclear war, about the single man, family dynamic, pregnancy. It tackles a lot of different topics over 5 movies. So
no, I know that. I mean, he's like I said. I mean, the guy. You know, I never heard anyone talk this fast in my life. You know, meeting this guy is like, and he's very sure of himself with things. Like, actually, the Stacy program. Inside the Stacy program, there's like a talk battle that they say in Japan. It's like Tomomatsu, Oda, who did the special effects on Stacy, and Zombie Self-Defense Force, and me. And it came out to like me and Tomomatsu like not agreeing with each other. And Tomomatsu was like, "What, you would disagree with me? I'm exactly right." So it's a very funny conversation. You know, but it's in the program book. This little thing, I have it here. It's cool. In Japanese. But I mean, so we didn't see eye to eye, but we always got along. You know, because and you know, thinking back on it, you know, I was looking through photos the other day, kind of getting ready for the show today, and you know, I mean, I'm grateful for the, you know, the experiences, even though the sets were brutal. You know, I mean, I had a good time, and you know, if I saw him, I'd love to see him again. You know, just like, yo, man, because we actually did go through a lot. You know, I mean, Stacy was 2001. So it was like 21 years ago, you know. So I mean, I haven't really worked with him since I kind of dropped out of his scene. I tell myself I graduated into bigger films, but I haven't really seen him since like 2013, 2014, around that time. You know, so other than like when I saw him walk on his back walking down the street, I'm like, should I go talk to him? I'm kind of beat. It's going to take a lot of energy. I mean, that's what I have to say about Tomomatsu. I mean, the guy is like a supernova. You know, that guy has a lot of energy. He's always going. I've never seen him. Though actually in Lust of the Dead 2, he passed out around like 6 a.m. in the morning. And I got this because I did the making of. So I had this great shot. One of the actresses came in for the next day shooting. He's sound asleep on the ground, and she steps over him. You know, and it was like this great shot. And then when I edited the making of, I gave it to them, and they cut that out. And I was like, why did you cut it out? Because we had a disagreement with the management after we shot her scenes. We had to remove her from the film. So we had to remove her from the making of. And I'm like, oh, I love that. It was just hysterical. You know, like, here comes the actress. Everyone's like, oh, here's, you know, today's star. And he's the director's sound. So that's the only time I've ever seen the guy asleep on set. But I mean, that was like, because we started like the day before, like 8 a.m. So already on like, you know, 20 something hours going on and on. And for a director, you know, Wilco, you direct stuff. Yeah. So, you know, the director is really like mental energy, go, go, go.
True. What's the shoot time of Lust of the Dead?
Well, you know, I don't know, because I wasn't there for the whole thing, but Tomomatsu was like, yeah, we're doing this in 3 days. You know, so I think, you know, and there is, you know, like, I should probably show some photos and tell you about it, because I can show you, like, I was there for most of the shoot, like the not most of the shoot, but I mean a good portion of shooting of that. And man, that was like, we got to the temple, you know, that all the scenes and the temple scenes, got there at like the crack of dawn or wherever we left from on the crew bus. And man, that went until the next day. Then we went to another location, and then the police came, and the police kicked us out. We had they had to finish shooting for the day. We went to this other, they just found some tunnel that didn't look anything like the tunnel before, you know, and then it started pouring rain like you had never seen it, pouring rain. And we're all like stuck inside this tunnel, and like, we're not getting any food. That was the other thing. It was like, there was like no money. So, and like, after jumping around here, but it was like, what was it, like 6 a.m. There's not even snacks or anything to drink. And then finally someone went to McDonald's. They found a McDonald's somewhere. They came back and they're like, here you go. And they come up, here's your food, you know, and it was a single McDonald's hamburger. It didn't even have cheese on it, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, this thing is only making me hungrier, you know, by getting something in my stomach, you know? And I had an assistant with me on that, because I was doing making of and stills. So this guy Radley, good guy, he would like throw me a you know, I'd say, give me the camera. He'd do that, you know, back and forth. And he was like, he got a hamburger. He's like, you know, I guess I can't ask for a second one. I would give anything for one more hamburger. I mean, that's how like kind of desperate the set got. But anyway, yeah, finally, when we got to that second tunnel, we were back in Tokyo in some area. So there were convenience stores. And as Wilco would know, convenience stores are like the great oasis in Japan. So always film sets, it's always like, where's the closest convenience store? You know,
always on your map with the location. Always.
Yeah. Well, this is also before we had any, you know, smartphones or anything like that. You know.
Nobody, did you want to show us some photos?
Sure.
I can bring them back up.
Sure. Well, why don't I have this? These are Stacy photos.
Yeah, let's go through it.
I'm just going to run through these. This is Tomomatsu and Chisato Ogawara, who wrote the script. And let me see if this will work right here. Just here, we got zombies and Tomomatsu doing his thing, and here they come. And yeah, then they're doing their thing, and you know, and Tomomatsu's got a very unique style for how zombies walk, as I'm sure you've gathered from his films. So that was another thing. I was like, you know, I don't like the sensibility. I'm a zombie guy myself, but anyway, then we've got here some gory pictures I'll be showing. So,
you know, can you tell us what is it? Sorry, can you go back to that?
Yeah.
Just all latex and rubber?
Yeah, it's just latex and rubber and painted down, you know, and yeah, just like that. Yeah, foam, you know, foam filling and stuff. So these, I actually put this photo in Fangoria. I brought all the girls outside. We did photos, and that was fun.
Good picture.
Here's more gory stuff.
That old computer in the background too. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at the antiquated computer and printer in the background. This is back in 2001. And it was fun. I mean, you know, going to sets like this, it was all new for me, you know, and I'm like, man, this is great. You know, I loved it.
Oh,
She's an actress. I guess she got shot in the head. Oh, and then here, now you see this is like, they're two of the stars in the film. And see that guy's wearing red sunglasses? I had red sunglasses. So for my scene, which is coming up, I wanted to wear my glasses. And Tomomatsu's like, you can't, because we got another character wearing red. I'm like, who wears, how, you know, it was kind of annoyed me, but what could I do? Anyway, this is my day of shooting, and we were doing, you see, I'm getting makeup there. See how much is 20 years ago. And
there you go. Look at that young guy over there.
that looks cool in the leather jacket.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? What's going on in this scene?
These are these things called Bruce Campbell's Right Hand 2, and they're doing like, it was like a joke on telemarketing. The reason he wanted me in Japan, I don't know if they don't do it any longer, but in the old days, you'd turn on TV late at night and they would show those American like info commercials where they're selling something, and they would overdub them in Japanese, but it would be like 80% would be Japanese overdubs and 20% would be English like underneath it. So Tomomatsu had me on that to do a parody of that kind of thing. So you can see me like, I was just improvising my lines that, yes, look at this chainsaw here for when you're attacked by zombies. It's really good. And blah, 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 blah. And the guy in the middle is this guy, Kenji Otsuki, and he's a big rock and roll guy. And he wrote the novel that Stacy is based on. So he's a big zombie guy. And next to him is Hinako Saeki, who's a big actress in Japan. So she was just there for the day. I'm friends with her now. We just got together a couple months ago, I guess. We went out with a director friend of ours, Hiku Chinsky, who did a movie called Uzumaki, which is actually quite good. I covered that for Fangoria too.
I do like that film. Yep.
Oh, okay. She's the nasty girl in school who has the curly hair that curls up in the air and stuff. So
okay. Yeah.
And this is the chainsaw thing, but notice it doesn't say Bruce Campbell. It says Blues Campbell's. They did that for copyright reasons, not trouble. And then you hear
they look like vacuum cleaners. Is that what they are?
I don't know what they are. I have no idea. I just stuck my hand in the thing. I'm like, is this okay? Come on, it was over 20 years ago. I don't really remember, but yeah, it kind of looks like something modified. Anyway, that was my Stacy stuff, and then I wanted to just go through my next film with him was this zombie Jietai film, and like we got to this location right around by Mount Fuji. And man, it was like December 18th, 2005. It was like freezing cold outside. And they're burying these guys who were like, these are actors in like wearing nothing, burying them in the ground. And they have to all pop out. I mean, like I'm covered in sweaters and I'm like, and I'm freezing like that. It was terrible. These guys were like literally dying. But this, I mean, the zombies were kind of cheap looking, but it was kind of fun, just to, do something like this. So, I mean, anyway.
How did he get funding for this movie? Because the last one, you don't know? All right.
But I mean, they're all ultra low budget. I mean, like look up on the top. I mean, they're like zombies have, thrown on masks and stuff. So. If you look on the very bottom of the photo right here, there's a little tube because it's just blood is being shot up.
Yes, you can see that there. Yeah.
These are the main actors, I guess. The woman in the middle, I forgot her name. She was the main one. Then we've got some real gory photos coming up when they had the pregnant zombie.
Whoa.
So
that looks pretty cool.
And then the whatever was in it busted out. These are all like pig guts and things from the local butchers. It smelled awful.
That's nasty of you, the real stuff.
And Tomomatsu, as you can see there, he likes to get his hands dirty on the thing.
Yeah.
And this is another one I took.
So
I like this photo actually. I like gore. Because I know it's not real. I mean, I like violence in films, not in real life.
It's real pig intestine, right?
Yeah, it's real pig intestine.
So it's real. in a way.
And this is Oda. He did the makeup effects on Stacy, and he did this. He works on kaiju movies too. He worked on the Gamera series. He worked with Tsukamoto on a lot of Tsukamoto films. He's a very good artist, very cool guy. And so this is the little creature running around. So
that looks cool.
And then this is
the thing is to film that they have to explain the scene. Okay, so now you're gonna be there with that cord around your neck, and the baby's gonna come after you, and everybody's like, okay. So you have to all take it serious. When
that's basically what was going on here. Like in this little thing that really, they're throwing it around, it's jumping, and I've seen the film once, whatever, And I think this is Jiro on the side, who was the cameraman on Lust of the Dead. I think he wrote the script because he's been involved. The script for Lust of the Dead, he's a co-writer on, or he wrote this one, I forgot, but he's part of like Tomomatsu's group, or at least back then. And let's see. Oh, this is the scene. Like these guys, I have to say, this is like around 11 at night, and this is going on. This is all the same day, and some of these guys were literally shivering, like. You know what I mean? When you just can't control yourself, it was that cold out. I mean, it was awful. And we were staying at this horrible hotel. It was like in the room I was in, there were 10 other guys. It was like we had our futons. They were literally like touching each other. It was, all I could do was just lie straight on my back. When I finally went to sleep, it was very uncomfortable conditions. Then the next morning, we went up by Fuji to do some shooting in the morning. That's actually Tomomatsu's son in the front.
Okay.
With the scene with like 3 kids, or him and maybe 1 or 2 other kids. And he would always call me white guy. So that was, and he would come in like,
for them, you are.
So. This scene, like I was so cold, I went inside, and then he comes in to get me, and he's like, "Hey, white guy, my dad wants you to take photos." I'm like, you're lucky this isn't America. Anyway, I'm in this. I'm all these girls' English teacher in the movie. So then I got made up like a zombie. That's
nice.
And we went to this local grocery store dressed, and we're in the middle of nowhere. We went into this place, 3 of us. And I stumbled out of the toilet, and this little boy came up, and I just went, "There's been an accident." And the kid just got wide-eyed. And then suddenly he was about to run off, and the 2 girls come out of the girls' room, and they're just like cracking up. This boy just freaked out and ran away. It was really great. I love doing stuff like that. But anyway, this is like, see, and then they did like CG, so we got like all like duplicated many times. So it was more like in the final film, like our bus crashed in the beginning of the film, and then we turn into zombies at the end. And then like this woman here, her head is actually removed through CG, so she's holding her head in the thing. And then the final photo is just from this. So that is my those are my 2 first Tomomatsu films. And I didn't really, they, they're not, like I said, they're not like bad films. For me, like with Tomomatsu, I would always wish that he just spent a little more time, making the film look better, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I know what you mean. And his focus point was on something else. It was not on it wasn't not on the screen. It was what's in the screen.
That I can totally agree with. So, I'm kind of, I always think the most important thing is story. You got to have ideas, and you have good ideas, it can overcome a lot of things. I like a lot of, like you were talking about films you've seen recently. I was rewatching Creation of the Humanoids. You probably don't know that. It's like a 1964 film, very low budget. It's famous for being Andy Warhol's favorite movie, but it's very low budget. But man, the thing is just bursting with ideas, science fiction, dystopian ideas, and I like that. So, I'm more of a science fiction guy, I guess, in that way. But the difference also back then, everything was film, and film just inherently has a better look.
Yeah.
It it adds this kind of magic quality to it. And that's the kind
Dreamy.
of the thing that's, it's gotten better like today now with, shooting 4K and shooting 8K even, it looks better. But at this time too, like Zombie Jiatai was shot 720p. Actually
wow.
On DV or
on that Panasonic DV thing that came out. It was like one of the first like semi HD things that came out. And also Frankenstein Girl was also shot 720p. That was that one looks better because Nishimura is actually a lot sharper when it comes to how to shoot stuff.
Yeah, I noticed this in Japan. It's like if the budget shrinks, it's like your production exponentially shrinks with it. So with a low budget, you will have a low budget camera or cheap camera. They won't invest in a better camera because they have a lower budget. And that's what I noticed, because we in the West sometimes think, well, if we have not a lot of budget, it still needs to look good. So at least we're going to get a good camera, and then the rest we're going to skim on a little bit. But in Japan, it's like, well, if you only have this much money, you can only afford that camera. So in that way, it explains why it's 720p and why they still shot on DV while digital was available, because they don't invest in that because they think that the production cannot handle it or cannot, doesn't need it. Let's say that's what I noticed with working with some of those guys.
That's the wrong view. Hold on, that's better. I just ducked out because I thought I owned Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl on disc, but I don't own it. So, yeah.
No, I like that film a lot. That I was only on set on that for one day, and I had a great time. And we were shooting like way down at the bottom of Chiba. It was beautiful weather outside. That's what I guess they're fighting. I haven't seen that. I subtitled the film too. I haven't seen it in a decade, but the like kind of high school girls, Frankenstein girls, get cut up and stuff, and
it's cute.
it was really great. That was the first time I met Takumi Saito. I've worked with him a lot. I usually subtitle his films now. He's a big, super handsome actor. He's starring in the new Shin Ultraman that's coming out.
With Masami in it. Yeah.
You said Norman
Nagasawa's in that, I think.
In which one?
The new Shin Ultraman film. I've saw the trailer for it recently, and I'm pretty sure I saw her in it. Anyway, I didn't mean to derail the conversation.
If she's in it, then she didn't retire yet, which we were afraid of. Right?
No, not Asami.
Oh shit! Oops.
Masami Nagasawa. She's a very famous Japanese actress.
Oh, actually, I have this great photo of the two of us together because her first film was called Crossfire, that was directed by Shusuke Kaneko, and I covered that for Fangoria, and I have a little bit part in that. So I went to the wrap party for that, and she was like 13. She'd won the Toho Cinderella contest. So, so we took a photo together, and no one, I don't think anyone expected her to become a big star, but now she's like, a huge star in Japan. So I have this kind of funny photo of me with this, teenage girl. It's kind of creepy.
Use that now.
It's one that we'll just keep a secret.
And she's a wonderful actress too. I mean, and Kaneko really was forced to use her on Crossfire. It came from the top of Toho. It was like, put her in the movie, so he had to create a character for her in the movie, and she came off really good. But I mean, she didn't know what she was doing then. But since then, she's become a big actress.
Put money behind it and power, and now she's big.
But yeah,
Norman, to interrupt you, you said that you got sick of the sets of Lust of the Dead 2 and 3, and that you walked off one day. What's the story behind that?
Well. Yeah, I mean, well, it wasn't like, I just felt like I had gotten everything I could get out of a Tomomatsu set by this time, and we were in that school I was talking about earlier. Which I hate being there. So I'd been there since like the crack of dawn, and we were shooting all these scenes, you know, the outdoor scenes, the shower scenes, barricades, zombies running in and out of the place, all the zombies attacking everybody. And then there was the one with the big guy with the giant schlong that breaks into 4 pieces, and then he starts doing his thing with 4 actresses, and I'm friends with a couple of them there, and I was like, you know, I don't really want to see this, you know, even though it isn't porn or anything like that. And then
no, but I get it.
They had finished shooting with all the female extras, and they were about to get on a bus to go back to Tokyo. And I'm like, I have a choice to jump on that bus, or I'm going to be here until God knows when, you know, because we're not going to leave until like the next day in the afternoon. Do I really want to be up all night, you know, doing this? I've already shot like, you know, 800 photos, whatever. So I just quietly grabbed my stuff, jumped on the bus with all the extras, the female extras, and I went back to Tokyo, and that was it.
Okay, but you were no longer needed on the set. You were just, I guess, also.
Well, I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, a lot of the thing with doing that for Tomomatsu was I was pretty much volunteering. You know, it wasn't like I wasn't being really paid. He's done other things like Tomomatsu, and this is something I like about him. Like I bumped into him like 6 months later. Of course, I handed over all my photos and I edited the thing. I kind of just did it as a favor for him, really. But I bumped into him and he's like, Norman, I have money. Let me give you some money right now. And he gave me like $500 just on the spot, you know? And I'm like, yeah.
But that's also a thing that I learned is like, there's a difference between guarantee, fee, and thank you money, or like bento money even. They're like all amounts that are people know but nobody talks about. And basically with these low budget movies, they rather pay you in thank you money. That can be any amount that they think your value was during the shoot afterwards. So I guess he liked what you did and he gave you $500.
Yeah, well, he called me after to do other films, but I just always I just always refused because I was doing other things, and I kind of moved on to different kinds of films and doing more of my own writing. And those things, I'm telling you, they're very exhausting too.
Yeah,
you know, it's a lot of work, and you know.
And on average, how many hours a day would you say shoot is?
Yeah, well, I said like, I mean, well, Stacy was different, and also, you know, when I did Stacy, that was just like me going to the set on my own. It was all shot in Tokyo. You know, so they tell me where the location is. I go when I want, take a bunch of photos, ask some questions and stuff, and then I'm gone. But then with the Zombie Jiatai, which is, you know, Yamanashi, it was shot in Yamanashi. So I have to meet the crew at, you know, like 5:30 in the morning, you know, before the sun's even, you know, risen. And then we're driving out to the middle of nowhere, and I got to be with them. And that's like, I'm up from 5:30 earlier, actually. And then, you know, I don't get to bed until like 1 a.m. the next day, you know. And Lust of the Dead was the same thing. I mean, Lust of the Dead was even, I think that was like the longest. I mean, I was awake for like 35 hours on that shooting, you know. I mean, I might have passed out when the police chased us out from that tunnel, and then we're on the bus trying to find another tunnel that might, you know, when we got to that tunnel, I'm like, this doesn't look anything like where we just were. And Tomomatsu, it's fine. We're just shooting. No one will notice. You know, I'm like, what is it?
You know what? I didn't notice. And I didn't notice. So he was right.
Right. He was right, you know, so. But I mean, I probably got like maybe 30 minutes, you know, just like, you know, that kind of passing out type of thing. But I mean, no, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's Japanese, you know. I think low budget movies are like that almost anywhere, but especially in Japan. And even studio movies can be, you know, I worked on studio films, Toei, and, you know, my time on Godzilla films at Toho, and those can like the last day shooting Shusuke Kaneko's Godzilla film, the last day of shooting went over 30 hours because they were like behind schedule, and they had 3 crews shooting at the same time.
Wow.
Godzilla over here, Mothra over there, you know. And it was like, man, I mean, I don't know if they do that in Hollywood because I don't really know any other type of filmmaking. I'm just familiar. My only experience, you know, in Hollywood is with George Romero. But man, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty. It can get pretty brutal over here. But on the other hand, you know, it's kind of fun. You know, if you can like handle it, you know, to
do it once, not every day. Not if it's your job, but you have to do it every day. Of course, if it's just once in a few months, then you can handle it, right?
Yeah. You know, and I've done, like I said, I've done studio films, doing stills on studio films, and those are still also, you know, the longest shoot I've ever done has been 5 weeks. That was for a big Toei film. And, you know, that still even, you know, was like, get to Shinjuku at 6 a.m., get on the bus, drive somewhere, you know, or we go to a location for 4 or 5 days and then come back. And I mean, but I mean, I like it. I mean, they're great experiences. I feel very, you know, lucky that, I mean, I didn't come to Japan to do this kind of work. And I've always loved films. I've always wanted to be involved in cinema. And I kind of found this world, and this world found me. So, you know, I'm very grateful. You know, I've loved Godzilla since I was a kid. I'm sorry, we're not just talking about it.
Keep sneaking Godzilla references in. By the way.
That's your story. Just Godzilla's part of it.
Buy my book.
Yeah. Buy the book.
Full screen. Give us a show that book again.
Buy my book. Buy
my book.
Buy my book. But no, I mean, like I'm the only foreign person that's actually worn a Godzilla suit, you know, and these are things I would have loved to have done as a kid that I never would imagine that I would come to Japan and do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I might bitch and moan here and there and scoff at Tomomatsu and stuff, but I'm glad that I had a good time, you know, I had a good time.
I can imagine.
And speaking about Lust of the Dead, I mean, I have to tell you, I had a hidden motivation for going to the set. Like Tomomatsu called me. He's like, I'm doing a new movie. You should do the making of and do stills on it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then he goes, yeah. I'm like, who's going to be in it? And he goes, well, Asami. I'm like, oh, you know. And I've made a couple independent films of my own. I was working on a new one that I had just written the script for. It's called New Neighbor. And I'm like, I want Asami in my movie. Okay, this is great. You know, because I already know Asami. You know, I've been on sets with her before, and we've hung out before, and I've interviewed her several times, you know, for different things, a lot of Iguchi stuff. So I was like, okay, this is great. I go to the set, you know, kind of like work my way up into asking her to be in my movie. And here's my, you know, very good opportunity to see if she would be in my film. So that was my reason. So I get to the set, you know, we go up to that temple thing. You know, we go up to the temple. Asami's sitting outside. I'm like, yo, Asami, how's it? She's like, Norman, oh, great to see you. Blah, blah, blah. She's smoking a cigarette. I'm talking. And I said, she's like, what are you up to? It's like, well, I'm working on a movie. And she goes, can I be in it? I said, yeah, great. She's like, okay, yes, I'm going to be in your film. Fine. It's settled. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be here for another 30 hours. Can I go home now?
That is so cool, Norman.
I didn't know it was going to be that easy, you know? So, okay.
Because Maria Ozawa said she was a pretty cool person when we had Maria on a couple of months ago. And it sounds like you're the second person now that said Asami's pretty cool. If we played the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game, we are now 2 steps away from Asami. Wilco, how do we get her on the show? We got to get her on.
We first have to get a translator in order to have them translate everything she says, what we say to her, and vice versa. Because although she worked in America for a while, I don't think her English is approved.
I've never heard her speak English at all.
Yeah,
but this show's about Norman, so sorry, Norman.
I mean, yeah, I don't know where she is now. I don't think really anyone really knows. You know, I think she just sort of, after maybe Gun Woman, I think she might have done like 1 or 2 other things, and then
Love Gun Woman.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
that she retired, and I also heard that she was in America for a while, but I don't know what happened after that. So
Sky Sharks. She made an American film called Sky Sharks.
really.
Last year or the year before. I don't believe she had a speaking role in it, but she is featured in the main cast list. But I haven't found the movie to watch, so
we have to track her down first before we can get her on the show. We don't know where she is.
Well,
and then
I-
we
yeah,
have
Maria have her number.
Maybe, I don't know. I have to ask.
But this is not unusual. I mean, this has happened. I've seen it happen with a lot of different actresses before. You know, that get into this. You know, maybe they get into, you know, pornography or something like that, and things don't really go, I guess, the way they thought they would go, and then they just are like, you know, I had enough. You know, and
Well, she went the other way around, didn't she?
But
She went
the other way
AV too. Yeah.
Right. But I have to say, you know, Asami has always been there you go. You know, Asami is super outgoing, super friendly, but she's not like, how can I say, thank you, Dan. Asami, you know, she's not a fake. I mean, if she doesn't like you, she's not nice to you. You know, that's the thing. She's a very real person. She's a very real person. She's a very creative person. Like when we did my film New Neighbor, played for a week in Uplink in Shinjuku. And every night we were doing a different kind, because it's only like a 40-minute film. So we were doing a different show every night. So what I mean by that, like I did director's night. So it was like me, Nishimura, Iguchi, and Kaneko Shusuke. Like we did a talk thing after the film. And then the most fun night was I had actress night. So I had Asami and Ayano, my 2 main actresses in that. And we recreated their battle scene at the end of the film on stage. And before that, we were like working on like, okay, what are we going to do on stage? I said, I kind of have this idea, like we're doing this. And Asami's like, she just took over. She's like, I'm going to do this. Ayano, you're going to do this. Norman, you're going to do this. I mean, she just directed the whole thing. And it came out really great. I mean, the audience was just like going nuts. I mean, she just always gives it like, you know, I hate to say it's so cliche, but like 110%, you know, and she's very, you know, facially, she makes all the best expressions and, you know, always just has, you know, like when we were doing Dead Sushi, she'd come up into my room like, you know, every other night. I could just sit there and talk, you know, after we've been shooting all day and just talking, and having a great time. Yeah, shot's from Dead Sushi. I mean, always she's like that. I mean, she's fun, you know, and you know, she did my movie New Neighbor for free, for nothing, you know, just because I'd asked her to do it.
Because you're friends, that's why. Because you can call her your friend. That's why she didn't ask you any money.
And she said, like, one of the nicest things she said to me was after we finished the show, so it's one of the last times I saw her, she goes, you know, Norman, one of my favorite places to be is Norman's set. You know, it's like, oh, that's really sweet of you to say that. I mean, you know, she's really great.
Let me ask you one question. Do you scream on set?
Do I scream on set? No, I don't.
Do you scream on set? Because that's the thing. I don't scream on set, but it seems that every Japanese set they're screaming, and that's why a lot of, you know, Japanese actors like to be on Western sets because we scream less.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, I've been on a lot of sets. I haven't heard a lot of screaming. I've seen crew members beat each other up.
That's what I mean. That's the part of it. That's the whole environment we're talking about. It's like
right. Well, let me show you some of my Lust of the Dead shots, because those are, you know, they're pretty funny, I think. So
so this is from the start of the movie.
Yeah, this is the first day of and this is like some of the wackiest stuff I've ever seen in my life. So that's Coda Lily. She's very sweet. This is the first time I met her. I've worked with her a bunch of times since. She's another, she's another wonderful. She directs, you know, porn and things like that. But I mean, she's so brilliant and beautiful and cheerful. So this is like, you know, we're in Shinjuku. This is a Sunday morning, and we're shooting stuff like this. you know. So you know, we're doing this in the morning. I don't really know what's going on because I don't know what the story is. I'm just there to, you know, just to take photos and stuff. So this is, and I'm like looking at the zombies. I'm like, Tomomatsu, what's up with the blood in the eyes? It looks awful. He's like, this is my style. This is my style. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. And this young woman in the high school thing, her name is, what's her name? Emi Nishimura. And she's actually the film editor.
Oh.
She's the film editor of these. And then it starts raining, which happens all the time, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what is with the blood coming out of the eyes? I don't get it. But, and this guy, look at his tie. Can you see it's a Godzilla tie?
Yep.
He's a Godzilla buddy of mine, but he's also a zombie fan. And this guy, Haraguchi, I meet him every now and then. He's a very sweet guy. I like him a lot. And there's Lily again. And this is Tomomatsu uses this photo now like as his like profile photo for like everything, you know.
Yeah. Also.
You know, but yeah, so this is basically like the whole crew. I mean, so it's like, you know, it's like Sunday in the morning. Then they're like regular people like starting to mill about, and you know, this stuff is going on. I'm like, is this okay? You know, the police, Shinjuku police station is just right down the road. That's fine. Nobody will say anything. You know, and they're running and screaming on the street like this, you know. I mean, Lily's great. She's always having a good time. Tomomatsu, blah, blah, blah.
Wait, so there's no permit to shoot this?
No permit, right? You know, and Tomomatsu, here's like, this is him like, okay, I want you to get on. You're getting raped. You're down like this. This is how I want you to, very physical director, you know. I'm like, okay. So anyway, then the crazy stuff goes on. We're up on this like over bridge with the camera. They're doing this stuff, you know, like you see them, they're attacking women down there. You see over here, there's like a guy
couple with a baby
with the two babies.
Yes.
I mean, you know, like I'm like, and Tomomatsu couldn't care less. You know, I mean, I've done guerrilla shooting and I'm like, I can't handle it. You know, I'm so nervous. Like, we got to get a permit. This is no good. You know, I mean, this is what's going on down on the street below, you know.
It's just another day in Shinjuku.
Another day, Sunday morning in Shinjuku, you know. So yeah, this type of stuff. Wait, let me get to something. Yeah, I mean, this is going on.
Crazy.
You know, this is like insanity ensues, you know. Like,
see, you could do this before camera phones, because otherwise then everyone would be there with their smartphones feeling this and just ruin everything that's going on. But
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you could never get away with this today, or you would have, like you're saying, like that. So there's Tomomatsu with this Slipknot shirt on. So anyway, so this is, yeah, just this kind of stuff. But you know, everyone was having a good time. You know, I mean, that's the thing. And this is, and look, you see people with umbrellas walking around, like they're looking at us like, what are these people? What? You know, and I'm like, oh man. So that was
probably think it's a theater group. Oh, it's just theater people.
Well, these are the photos from the temple. So I was going to show these. This is like where this, I mean, this is.
Can we go back to that first one? Sorry, Norman, I clicked it. Yeah.
Okay. This is where this is, you know, in getting there in the morning,
That's it.
You know, going up to this temple thing up here. I've worked, like, this is a temple that isn't really a temple anymore. And I've worked on at least 4 films shot here. You know, it's like, oh, this place again. I think this is the first time I went to it, though. You know, here's like, you know, zombie masks and stuff.
Oh.
And this is inside the temple.
Can I ask, what happens to the masks after shooting? What happens to them?
I'm sure the makeup guy holds on to them, because I've seen them. I've seen stuff on different sets if they hire the same guys, so they get recycled. So here's a nice one with Asami holding the gun. And this is all like dress rehearsal, going through, you know, Tomomatsu's looking at the script. They're going through it with the actresses and stuff. So that's, what's her name? Alice Ozawa and Saya. And I think this is the first time that I met Saya, and we actually became pretty good friends on the shooting of this one and the second one. And both of these women actually speak pretty good English. So Alice is actually half Japanese. So she seemed to have some sort of pride in her English. And Saya lived in the US for a little bit.
Norman, when they were shooting, because one thing that Wilco and I noticed about all 5 of the movies is that number 2 and 3, like part 1 doesn't seem to have been made with 2 and 3 in mind. Is that correct? Or was it always meant to be a trilogy and then he added the next 2 over the top?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know. But I would say that if it had a little bit of success, he would definitely make a second one. I mean, that's just the way films are anywhere, you know? It's like, oh my God, we ended this, but we made a lot of money. We could find a way to make part 2, you know? So it was probably just that. I would speculate that was the case of that.
Because killing off the schoolgirl, killing off Asami, that was a big thing, and then quickly working a way to rewrite them back in to part 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, let me put it this way. Tomomatsu never said to me on the set of 1, yeah, and then we're going to make 2 and 3. You know, he just called me one day and said, hey, I'm doing 2. I'm like, okay. You know,
that's true. It was still 2. The choice to make 2 and 3 was just because they had too much content.
And here's like, you know, Asami always with her wide-eyed, enthusiastic.
What is she holding up?
That's some film she made, and it's like a little metal case. And these are candies of some sort that say thank you. I think these were like crew gifts from some film she had worked on. I can't remember. But, you know, I mean, everyone had a good time. This is what I, you know, so they'll always, Tomomatsu sets, whatever I might say, everyone's having a good time, you know, laughing and just enjoying it. And Asami, you know, the thing with Asami, you know, she's in a lot of movies because she really loves the set. You know, she likes being on the set. She likes doing this. I mean, she's really loves being in films. This is the shot I had earlier. Yeah. You know, and then the guy here, the male guy, he writes Ultraman scripts and other things like that. I see him around at like nerd events and stuff. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Is he Takashi Nakazawa?
Yeah, Nakazawa. Yeah. So Nakazawa was like a big Godzilla nerd, and so I know him from that world. This is the first time I met him, was on this set. And as that's going on inside the temple, they're getting the zombies ready for that night when the zombies attack. So, and actually I was doing making of, and I was filming some stuff, and some guys came up to me and they're like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? You know, who are you? And I'm like, get the hell away from me. I didn't explain who I was. Get away from me. And then finally, I think Tomomatsu came over. It's like, leave this guy alone. He's doing the making of. But they were like, I guess, you know, whatever. Why is there a foreigner here?
You know, who's this foreigner on the set? Get rid of him. He must be a tourist. We don't want him
here. How many people we estimate was in the crew, Norman?
These films are usually 15 people.
Wow. Okay.
You know, including director.
And how can we see the making of? Because I don't think I've seen that anywhere to watch.
Oh no, it's on the end of the movie.
I thought it was on YouTube. It's on the Japanese DVD. Have you seen my on my Vimeo? I have part 2 and 3 making of on my Vimeo, unsubtitled.
I saw his making of. It's at the end of the movie. At least my copy has it at the end of the movie. It's probably from probably from the DVD then, but it was just right at the end.
Yes. Nice. Yeah. And that, you know, I shot that with one of these like little MP3 players. Remember before like iPhones and stuff, they were coming out with these little things that would shoot, like these Korean made.
You shot it with that?
I shot it with one of those, and it was like hell to edit because I had to convert it to other things. It had the worst rolling shutter I've ever seen. You move the camera a little bit, everything's like sliding from one side to the other. But
it fit the production. So.
but that that it's just, what was this, 2012 or something? Yeah, so it was still like, yeah, anyway, that's what I shot.
No one had an iPhone 3. That's the thing.
Right. And this is
Yeah,
when they were all
that's
eating stuff. And and this other Yui Aikawa, I mean, she was she also was like, could speak a little English too. So she was really like, and she was really like,
well, not in the second movie. She spoke English, but it was pretty poor.
Oh,
yeah,
it was,
there's kind of a difference between being able to speak and being able to speak in a film. And I've learned that, like, I've used people that can converse in English, and then you throw them from the front of a camera and it looks very different.
And they cannot act in that language.
They can't act in another language. Yeah. So
but how is Yui? Because Yui is also one of my favorites of
really, she was a little, I don't want to say strange, because you're very nice, but she was kind of like, whenever taking photos, she was like posing. I've got a couple photos, like really like doing all these sexy poses, and I'm like, no, I'm taking photos of the shooting. You know, you don't have to pose. It's kind of bizarre. But like I said, both of the two of them had two of the Saya and Alice. They were both, they had a good relationship. They became friendly. Eating the food, and then Saya.
I don't want to say anything weird, but I did hear that Alice kind of, or at least what I saw, is that she went a little bit insane. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know. No. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. That is too bad.
She gave me her phone number, but I never called her. This is how the set was, basically further back. I've been in this place so many times.
Feels like home, huh?
Yeah, it does. Cold. So that, anyway, this is like this, and then at night was when the this is just the temple at night, and
these guns, those are BB guns, I suppose, right?
Yeah, they're just fake plastic things. They don't shoot anything.
Alec Bald wasn't there, Wilco. Don't worry.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. She was doing stuff like this, like all the time, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then outside they're getting ready for the zombies, and I'm like, God, these are like the worst looking zombies I've ever seen in my life.
In my resolution, what I see from you, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, okay. And then and here is Tomomatsu being the physical director, so he's very enthusiastic. Then this is just hanging out outside.
How many takes do you think he took per shot? Is he a one take, that's it, I'm done? Or is he...
Most Japanese directors are like 1-2 takes. The only time I ever saw more was I did this American Japanese film called Temple back in 2015. I was the still guy on it, and we had an American director on it, and he would be doing 10, 15 takes, and the Japanese crew was furious because we only had 10 days. And he would do things like, that was absolutely perfect. Let's just do it one more time. And the Japanese crew was like, why?
Because it wasn't perfect. That's the trick. You just say, it was perfect, but let's do one for safety.
You don't get it 10 times, you're never going to get it.
I feel sorry for the editor.
So,
I got it in 15 at one point. So
and there's your cameraman, right? Wilco?
Yeah, that's him. That's my camera dude.
Is that Mr. Handheld?
That is this Mr. Tamiya.
I like this photo of Asami. She's ready for action there. Then we're outside.
But you said he didn't shoot the first one. So what is he, the assistant, or what did he do?
No, he's the cameraman on the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this is the action director. I forgot his name, and going over stuff. And then they're slopping on all this gunk on people, this black gunk, right? See, so all the zombies are covered in this gunk. And now you see
her posing again in the background.
Yeah, Yui's posing again, and she's doing more posing.
And again, yeah.
Again, okay. So they're getting their crazy zombies ready. Okay, this is another guy. He's an extra in like so many films. So a lot of these people have like a hobby of being extras. And he's been in a lot of Nishimura and Iguchi films. And this is me.
Hey?
Me. And so one of the guys comes up and he's like, I'm going to rub this stuff on you. And I'm like, no, you're not. And he's like, I've got to rub this stuff on you. And I'm like, I don't want you to touch me with that stuff. And Tomomatsu came over and like, just leave the guy alone. So I'm the only zombie without any gunk on me. You see, I had my glasses on over my mask.
The bit that it looks too clean because it's just a mask. Like there's no other.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I think I stopped being a zombie pretty quickly in it. I mean, here's a zombie.
Oh, that's a cool photo.
Yeah. And then doing action stuff going on. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, yeah, it was. I like shooting stuff like this. And you see Asami smiling. Everyone's having a good time.
Now, at this time, Norman, was Asami doing some of her action choreography? Because we noticed in later films of she's done like a Roddy Bot. She's was the action person.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she always, any film I've worked on, she works very closely with the action director, and she has her own ideas. I can do this. Can you do something with this? Like, this is what I can do. So she's always very, like I said, she's like bursting with ideas. So as you can see, the sun is starting to rise, so this is like whatever time it is where the sun rises. So this is then
the saddest part of the movie.
Before we got our McDonald's hamburger. So yeah, I couldn't show my other photos after this, but that's
and
then this is the temple then with all the body parts on the bottom, and there's Saya taking photos with her little flip phone, because that's what we had back then. And
so Glenn has a question. Was Machine Girl shot at that location as well?
Oh, probably. I wasn't there, but and Frankenstein Girl was shot here.
Okay.
Vampire Girl was shot here. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people use this temple. And then this is, I guess.
Where is it? I'd like to shoot. Oh, it's gone now or not?
That I don't know, and I don't know. I could ask a friend where I could tell you later, but I don't know offhand. Usually, it's just like get on the bus, they drive you somewhere. Oh, okay.
And where did you get on? Did you get on the post office in Shinjuku?
At this time it wasn't actually. That's where we are these days when you get on at Shinjuku, the post office. But we used to meet until the police made everyone stop. The Subaru, there's a building in Shinjuku right across from the big bus depot.
Okay.
There's like a Starbucks there, and there's a Subaru, the car company under that right there. Everyone used to meet there until the police were like, you can't, it's too in the way. And then maybe like 2015, everything got moved over by the post office.
Okay.
As the departing point. So there you go with Saya there.
And that's the what's her name that she gives birth to, Wilco? The hermaphrodite character at the end.
Oh shit. What was her name again?
What was her name?
It was revealed in part 4, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. I've got a lot of that in the making of, and I think Saya's speaking English in the making of a little bit.
I think I must have seen that then, because I did see
and then she walked there, and you see it's like bright as day now. We're going on day 2. I'm like, okay.
Everyone looks tired. Look at that.
We're ready to go home and stuff. And then we get to this tunnel to shoot in.
That's where the schoolgirl gets attacked in this tunnel, isn't it?
Yeah. Yui gets attacked there.
Yui, is that scene where she strips first, of course.
Yeah, she tries to seduce him because she thinks that he's not a toxic man.
Right. So we're shooting in this, and then the police just turned up, and then they're like, "Get the hell out of here! You don't got a permit." So then we went to this other tunnel, and we shot in this.
Also in the making of,
thing. And then this is what I said. It started raining like you cannot believe. So Yui jumps out onto the street in the rain, and she's like dancing around, and she got soaking wet. It was like, okay,
that is a little weird. You're right.
I mean, it was like this, the rain.
Doesn't that ruin the continuity?
But it was one of those rains that was just for like 30 minutes or something, and then it just stopped. But I mean, it was just torrential downpour. Yeah, so then we were in this, then it became like this tunnel, you know, and here she is posing, and then she got
Wilco. I never noticed that there was a tunnel swap. Now I'm going to have to look out for it.
I also didn't notice it, but now you think about it with the gray
Green
walls,
wall. Yeah.
So those were my shots of that, and I was going to end my ones with the opening of just to show you some shots from. This is like opening day in Shinjuku.
That is yeah, I know that. I know that theater.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it. So this is like, you know, before, and then one of the things that Tomomatsu does is he makes everyone sign posters and scripts, and then he sells them later. So like all the actresses, I've got a signed poster somewhere. I just took one home with me, but they're all like signing away. And so this is them. They became really good buddies after this. And then they did a thing on stage, and this woman, what's her name? Alice Saylor. And she's like an old underground performer, singer. So she had written a song. I think it's like the Rape Zombie song or Lust of the Dead song, whatever. So
that's a good song, by the way. Rape, zombie, rape.
Oh, that song, right?
I think she sang it on stage. And that's Nakazawa. That's his outfit that he wears wherever he goes. I bumped into him in the train. Dressed. He goes on TV like this and talks about like nerd stuff. And he's a big Uma guy. You know, those like whatever, like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster. He's written a lot of stuff about that types of things. So everyone's going over their script for the stage show. And here is Asami. And then party's over. Director's here.
Party's over.
No, I'm just kidding. But,
so I know you haven't seen part 5, Norman, but it kind of, the series kind of ends with the whole thing being a figment of his imagination, the guy in the blue.
That doesn't surprise me.
And that his idea is that he's getting revenge on these girls in high school, so he wants to make this movie about them all getting attacked. And Wilco and I thought it's just Tomomatsu talking about his high school days.
Yeah, you thought that. I didn't have that deep.
Well, I thought of that, yes.
Anyway, this is the audience here. So it was full house, you know. No, it was a lot of fun, you know, and
not the exact crowd I expected too. I saw some older faces and things like that in that crowd.
Yeah, some of them are like the extras. And they're like some, I don't know. I mean, the women, and I mean, this is Japan, you know. They're not like back in the US. And so I was taking shots around and having a good time, and everyone's up on stage doing their thing. Asami came out; she was great.
Someone knows who Alice Saylor is there.
Oh yeah. And then I took this one, everybody on stage, and Miho Wakabayashi. I've worked with her on a couple films.
Is she the scientist?
I don't remember what part she. No, I think you're thinking of June in part 2.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Tomita June. But a lot of these people changed their name, and June has changed her name to something new. So they were doing like Junkin. I mean, I think trying to win stuff. So Asami was doing that on stage, and then
it looks like she lost picking rock. Because he looks like he's got paper.
I like this picture of Asami. Yeah, she's very lovely. She's, I mean, really, there she is doing her things. And then they were signing stuff outside afterwards. And, I mean, they do that in Japan. The
idol treatment.
Wilco, I don't know if you go to like stage shows, but always it's a tradition. After the show, all the actors stand outside, and the audience can meet with them. So that's one of the things that's kind of nice in Japan. There isn't like this super division between the audience and the performers, and the film.
Everybody's also super nice. If they're all waiting in line in order to have a little handshake and say a few words, and then they continue again. It's like in the West, we would all charge and like, I want to go first, but they all just wait in line until around the corner, and one by one, they will have their
like
moment.
I did this thing I have. This is Day of the Dawn. This was a Dawn of the Dead event I did, and I had Ken Faree and Galen Ross, from Dawn of the Dead come here, and they were both like impressed with just like how sweet everybody was, how kind everybody was. In our we had like 300 people come to our show and doing the kind of signing things like that. And boy, they said we've never seen a crowd so well behaved and so respectful.
True. But then the downside is it's also a little hard to get them riled up when necessary.
Well, I think it's better these days. I was like back in the 70s, I was a big Kiss fan, and I was reading like Gene Simmons' interview. He's like, when I go to Japan, you weren't allowed to stand up in a theater. So he said they'd have guards. If anybody stood up, they would run over and push the person down. At a rock concert of all places, but they don't do that anymore. So Japan's gotten a little, it's a little better to be able to like just go for
small venues. The small dive bars are all standing, but if you go to a bigger event, it's still all sitting. It's all chairs. Like if you're, but yeah,
at my age, sitting is good.
Yeah.
But anyway, not to spoil the great chat that we're having, and I'm really enjoying this because some of these stories are just outstanding, and of course I'm loving the Asami photographs. But I do want to go to some of the questions that were raised on Reddit for you, Norman. And the first one I've got, now you might not know the answer to this one, but I'll ask anyway. Someone asked, they're curious to know who's releasing the Great Yokai War Guardian with subtitles, and do you know when that's coming out?
Wow.
I did the subtitles for that film. Maybe that's why I'm being asked, and I have no idea. I had someone actually wrote to me today with that same question, because the film didn't really do well in Japan. It opened up in the kind of gap in COVID in Japan over the summer, but it just didn't seem to, and people still were shying away from the theater at the time. So it didn't really do so well. I know it played like Fantasia and some other film festivals, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything about who's picked it up or whatever. So I wish I could answer that question, because I actually really liked the film. I liked it more than Miike's first one. I thought this one was much more uniquely Japanese, even though, yokai, how much more Japanese can you get? But it had a very non-aggressive wrap up to the ending, and I thought it was really showed like American movies, like superhero movies, they always end with some, big battle or something. And he managed to pull off a very non-aggressive, but very interesting ending. And I was really blown away by how how Miike pulled it off in this film. But I think some people with those kind of movies expect, a bigger battle and a bigger battle and a bigger battle, so I really love the film a lot, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything about anyone picking it up yet. But I would imagine it would happen. But I'm sorry, I just don't know the answer to that.
That's right. This one is this one's going to be a little bit difficult, because someone's asking, as a fellow translator, it would be interesting to hear about any particular difficult phrases or particular translations that you're proud of. With certain cultural horror contexts, it can be difficult to decide which way to go. And then they said demon or ogre, and then they've printed the character, which I can't pronounce, or things like Onryo. I guess Vengeful Coast captures the meaning, but it isn't so scary for us Westerners. So the question is there a particular translation you're proud of? And which way do you decide to go in the context of the way the film is?
That's like the most awesome question I've ever been asked about subtitling.
I hope the person is watching this who asked that.
It really depends on, because I've done, I did the last Ring movie, and actually Nakata, the director, helped me with a couple things, like sometimes with those things, yes, we don't have an English equivalent of it. I really can't think of anything off the top of my head, but usually what I try to do, and those type of terms, like I said, like Nakata got involved when I did Sadako, like 2 years ago, on a couple of phrases on things that he wanted it to be. He speaks excellent English, by the way.
Okay.
But usually it's trying to find just the closest equivalent to it, and not to just throw in a Japanese word, because then the audience, the majority of the audience will be really confused, and it's trying to find out, like say with Oni, the Miike film, what did I do on that? Sometimes we would, I really can't remember offhand, but most of the things that I'm the proudest of to get into that is where I pull off jokes, because humor in Japan is very different from humor in the English language. So especially when I work on Iguchi movies that are humor based, I sometimes just have to completely change the joke. And Iguchi doesn't mind, because Iguchi's like, just make them laugh. I don't care.
Nice.
So he gives me a lot of freedom on things. Like Dead Sushi, I did that a couple times because I felt like, no one's going to laugh. The Japanese have a thing. They say, when they don't understand a joke told by a foreigner, they say, American joke. So my revenge on that is to say, Japanese joke. So
I have something I want to show you.
Yeah. Yes, I did that.
Unfortunately, this is a Chinese bootleg.
Pirate.
Actually, that one, is it that one? Oh, yes. That I came up with a catchphrase for that, but it's not on that one.
No.
And
my friend, this is all Japanese.
My friend Yoshiki Takahashi was doing the international poster for that film. So he calls me up. He goes, "I need a catchphrase for the international poster." And I'm like, and I like to give like a couple of phrases, so they can pick it. And so I got off the phone with him, and I'm sitting in my room. Okay, zombie ass. What am I going to do as a catchphrase? And then suddenly I'm like, oh my God, it instantly flashed on me. And I called him up. I said, there can be but one. And he's like, what is it? And I said, we are going to flush you. And do you know what that's a takeoff on? Is the Lucio Fulci movie Zombie. And the catchphrase on that is, we are going to eat you. So this one's, we are going to flush you. And man, and when that played, that was at the Cannes Film Festival, people were writing online like, this is the most insane catchphrase we've ever seen. Like, what? That one I was very proud of, So, yeah, but I mean, going back to the question, just to wrap that up, I mean, really, I'd have to look through notes and stuff. And, it's really a balance between trying to keep it sounding natural and also trying to maintain the integrity of the Japanese culture. And you got to just find a balance between the two, because if you go too far, one way or the other, it can be not understood by the foreign audience. And that's, we've got to make sure that they understand it and, are following it. So, yeah, the Japanese have their own words for things, and just have to be careful about what you can introduce, when and what you're going to call them. But I never do think like, oh my God, it's a vengeful spirit, because no one would say anything like that, and we would say, oh my God, it's a ghost or something like that, so you have to always have to think about what it, and I do that when I'm subtitling, especially with a curse or something like that. What would I say? What would I just blurt out myself, that way? And I go with my instincts, in that way. And then of course subtitles get checked by the studios, and they get back to you with their endless notes and why did you do it this way? And is this okay?
Sounds better.
And blah, and back and forth until you're done and I pay my bill.
Now I know it's not your fault, but Sadako was really not a great film, but that's not your fault.
I know.
Yeah.
Didn't you understand it because of the subtitles, or was the movie itself?
That was the movie itself. The subtitles actually made it so that I could actually understand it. But part of me thinks I didn't want to.
You were like, I don't like this movie, but damn, the English is good.
Well, actually, I've got a question from myself before I go back to Reddit. Why do subtitlers say, for example, when the Japanese person goes, "I need to call the emergency number," and I can't remember off the top of my head what the Japanese emergency number is, but why is it then in the English translation puts it as 911?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. There's a thing I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And a Parasite's a great example where they changed Kakao Talk to WhatsApp, and a lot of people were very kind of shirty at that localization that was done to it. So it's good to hear that you don't do it.
Well, I try not to, like I said, I'll change a joke. I'll change something like that, but I try not to, like you said, like maybe not write, so I don't know what, Twitter instead of write, Line or something like that, something that's more prevalent on, because also, I wouldn't do something like that. I wouldn't do, and if I was told to do something like that, I may have to do it if that's what the studio wants, but I might do it in protest, or I might
I do understand it though, because 911, Americans immediately know, oh, the emergency number.
Yes, but
so
I'm a country that speaks English.
It depends on how many characters you have. I mean, that's the thing about subtitling. You're really locked into time and characters, and that's why sometimes things get left out. And as a subtitle person, you have to decide. Let's say I've got like three points in a sentence, and I can only fit 2 in. So I've got to pick which are the 2 most important points. And if I can fit in, like, I've never had a character say, call an emergency number, but I would have them say, if they say, what is it, Japanese, 119 or something like
110.
110, I would have them not say that. I would have them say, call the police or call an emergency, call the emergency number. That's what I would do. I wouldn't just to assume, like, what is it in England? It's like 999, 9939s.
In Australia, it's 000.
Yeah, it's different for each country, and I wouldn't be so arrogant as to assume everyone knows what 911 is. I mean, it might wind up being. Sometimes I've had, like, the Vampire Girl film, when that was released in England, all my things like color are changed to Colour.
Hey, no. I will defend the usage till I die.
That's fine. I mean, I don't care about that. So, but I have to say about Vampire Girl, I know when it was released in America, if you remember the jokes with the Ganguro girls, the kind of blackface girls, you don't see those in Shinjuku any longer, but they were always, the leader was always like crazy about, like, the girls are like, oh, could I have some milk in my coffee? No, black. It's got to be black. And for the US release, I understand they changed all of it to brown, which was really like, what? I think the UK subtitles kept it as black.
And then I probably saw the UK one, because the UK one, those parts are pretty spicy.
Yeah. And I know whenever that movie gets discussed online, everyone... Sorry, Wilco. I know when that movie gets discussed online, everyone goes straight to the blackface scene rather than the whole actual movie. So that's a kind of disappointing, actually.
And when that film premiered, they premiered that film in New York at the Asian Fantastic Film Festival, whatever it's called. And I hope no one's from that is watching, but Michael Jackson died like the week before, and they had a Michael Jackson joke in it. Nishimura, he told me when he got back from New York, he's like, I was telling them, I love Michael Jackson. I love Michael Jackson. Don't read too much into this, And Nishimura, we've kind of had a falling out, so I don't really work with him anymore, but he's like a lot of Japanese where he's insanely proud to be Japanese, and he's also got this like horrible complex about being Japanese, and you see it in a lot of his films, like, and that's why I obviously I am not African background, so I can't say it's fine to have jokes like that. It's not up to me to decide, but it's not, the Japanese are not say racist in the same way as Americans can be, if that may. I don't want to go down this road, but if you know what I mean. I mean, they're not really. It's almost like they're naively clueless about some. I mean, I get things like, I remember, like, I'm hanging out in Osaka once and I like belched, and the dad at the family is like, "Oh my God, white people belch?" And I'm like, I fart too, you know? I mean, what?
Just before I ask you the next question, Wilco, you're either really good,
because I don't want to get into that.
What?
Wilco, you're either really good at staying still, or there's an issue on your end with your camera freezing.
We did freeze like half hour ago, but I don't know if it's just on my side. But no, I'm look, moving.
Beautiful. The next question you've kind of just answered, but someone asked, have you actually worked with Miike and Nishimura in person or just provided the subs? I think you've definitely said you've worked with Nishimura, but how about Miike?
Oh, Miike, I have worked with twice. On the film Yakuza Apocalypse, I translated the script. 2 characters spoke English in that, so I had to write their dialogue, and then I was the dialogue coach. You know, so I had to be like, whenever it was like an English line, it was like Miike's like, "Here you go," and I got to sit in the chair next to him. Then we do the thing. Then before, when the shot is done, he'd just go, and I'd either go or like this. And if I go like this, he'd go, "Hi, okay," you know. And then if it was no, then he'd be like, "Okay, what was wrong?" And I'd be, "Hold on a second." I'd run onto the stage, you know, onto the set, and then say the line again, do it this way, run back, let's do it again, you know. And it was great. I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, I love working with Miike. You know, he's so, the Yakuza Apocalypse was probably the best set I've ever worked on. I mean, everybody, we're having a great time on that one. And I mean, it would go sometimes late, but never really past midnight or anything. But man, that was good times. And I've done, I mean, I wasn't on the set for his last one that was real, the first love thing. I did the subtitles on that. What else? Oh yeah, I was on the set for the Masters of Horror.
Oh wow, back in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, but that was just to do an interview, and yeah, so I wasn't really like a crew guy on that, but I've met him. Like we just did an interview for Fangoria on that, and I've met him other places and see him around. And I mean, you know, I think the last time I really saw him, it was at Nikatsu, but before that I had finished Yakuza, and I love this story. I was finished Yakuza Apocalypse, and then I was over at Toho Studios for something. I went into the lunchroom to get something to eat. He was there. He was doing that space movie of his, a science fiction film. And I went up to him. He doesn't remember my name, but he's like, "Oh," doesn't say anything. He's like, oh. And I'm like, "Hey, Miike, how you doing? You got any English this time? You know, you want to give me," he's like, you know, like, and everything was just facial expressions and not saying any. It was very kind of strange, but I understand he's actually really a very shy person, even though he doesn't look very shy. But when he's directing, man, the guy is like, there isn't any other job this guy could do. I mean, if this guy was born 200 years ago, there'd be no work for him, you know, because he's like just a guy that was like born to make films. I mean,
I do theater.
And that there was a thing in, if you haven't seen Yakuza Apocalypse, you got to, because it's an awesome film. I love the film so much. But I'm very used to, when I do things like when I'm working with Shusuke Kaneko, who did the Gamera movies and the Death Note movies. I'll usually make, and I've done stills on his films, and I'll always make suggestions like, "Why don't you do something like this? Why don't you do? Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good." You know, so I always make suggestions. So on the Miike one, I'm arrogantly, they have a scene with this frog guy, and he kicks everyone's ass. And when he's led into the room in the beginning, he comes down, and the guy's like, speaking English, "Watch your step, careful, careful." Then he kicks everyone's fucking ass. It's kind of cool. And then when he leaves, he just walks up the steps with a guy. And I said to Miike, "How about when he's walking up the steps, he says the same thing, you know, like careful. Like I thought maybe that'd be like kind of fun. Miki just looks at me and is like, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay, I don't really know this guy, you know. So I'm like, and then when I saw the film, he made the right call. You know, it was what was best for the film. I'm like, you know, I'm not, you know, this isn't like my friend's film. You know, I'm not that close to this guy. Don't just start suggesting stuff, you know. So, but it wasn't like he wasn't nasty or about it. He was just like, you know.
These are awesome stories. These are really awesome.
But it was great. I mean, I would love to work with him again. I mean, everybody that I know that works with him, you know, has a good time. The actors love him, you know, and he loves everybody too. He's very, very friendly.
Now we've got one question from the chat, which is from Mr. John Scotland. I like how you came up with all the translations. Oh, sorry, it's not a question. I like how you came up with all the translations.
Oh, that's right. And thank you, John, for reminding me that the actor who plays like the evil zombie, or I haven't seen it in a long time, but always calling Kika, like Kika-chan, like in a very sarcastic way, Kika-chan. And, you know, Chan is kind of like, if your name was Susan, it would be Susie, or Norman. Normie is like the Chan kind of makes it kind of a little juvenile, cute sounding. So I was doing things in the subtitles, like I can't remember it, but it would be like Kickapoo, something. I changed it for like every single one to try to get that sarcasm, and without that, it would have just been, hey, Kika, you know, saying that. So that was one. There was a good example. I should pay this guy money to remember things for me. So thank you, John.
And Daniel said imprint. I'm assuming he's referring to possibly the Miike yokai film.
The Masters of Horror. The Masters of Horror episode is called Imprint.
Oh, sorry. Because there's a distributor called Imprint as well.
The thing I love about Imprint was, what was that shown on like Showtime? And Showtime said, whatever you make, we're going to show. Miike turns in Imprint and they're like, we're not going to show that. So it was, they promised what Mick Garris that they would show anything that was shot because it wasn't broadcast TV. But even that one was like too much for the, you know, I think they had fetuses floating down a river and things like that. So
interesting, because we had that here in Australia, and I'm pretty sure we got an uncut version of it here.
Broadcast.
Yeah, well, it's on subscription cable TV over here.
It was the same situation in the US, and even that they refused to show it.
So, I have to double check, because I know I have my recording from when that aired back 20 years ago. Well,
maybe you guys are, you know, the US is like pretty, you know, I mean.
Oh, look, Australia used to be cool. Yeah, it is. Daniel agrees with me. We did get it uncut here in Australia. Okay. I thought so, because they made a very big deal about the fact that they had it uncensored here.
Okay. Well, my understanding is that it was not broadcast in the US and that you could only get it. And Tomomatsu will give me a kickback for that.
Yeah, a few cents.
And don't blame me for my acting in that. It's terrible.
We will. Don't worry.
All right. Well, I think we've wrapped up the questions that we've got for tonight.
I must say that I have to thank you, Norman, for all the inside information. A few things that I definitely can use in the development of my career. I now notice that there is a third level of how to do films, the Tomomatsu way. And now I know why a lot of Western crew that worked on bigger Japanese movies are very complaining about wanting to work longer hours. Now I know where that's from, because they all have the Toho way in their mind, and the 30-hour work week, and then they want to make sure that they're home for their families every night. And while I am like, well, 16 hours is normal for me, but they want to have 12-hour work days. And but then I hear from you that's because they're afraid to have 30-hour work days. Well, then I understand where they're coming from now, and I can definitely use that perspective when I communicate with them.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, you know, as Wilco, as you probably know, there are no unions in Japan.
No,
so even on the big levels, you know, there is a directors union, but they really,
which I'm a part of, by the way.
They have no power, and they have no unions for the crew or anything like in the U.S. So
membership.
Part of the issue is sometimes, and there's like a good side and a bad side to it. Like say working on Godzilla, I mean, you got to move this. Okay, we got to get this mountain out of the studio. You know, this miniature mountain. Everyone lends a hand. Even I lend a hand. I'm just like a reporter, you know, hanging it out every day. You know,
that would help cleaning up also. Yeah,
you know, Hollywood would be like, you touch that, the Teamsters come by and they, you know, you don't touch cables if it's not your responsibility. The good part of that is because the Hollywood films have money and they're trying to make sure that, you know, that people stay employed. You know, here they can get away with smaller crews because people will pitch in. You know, like when we get to a set, I unload lights, I unload things. I'm the still cameraman, for Christ's sake. You know, why am I unloading this stuff? But that's just the way the culture of it is here. So they can get away with actually smaller crews that way. But the good side about that is you get a real feeling like you're all working together. You know, you're not just these like separate crews that just step up when it's your turn type of thing. So you really get like a nice, and I think that's part of Japanese kind of culture in a way. You know, it's a very a family oriented culture, you know, more so than the US. So I do enjoy that, you know. And then when the day's over and you're all like, yeah, you know, you feel I think close together, and you know, you've been here
after
for
30 hours.
Well, you know what I mean. Or you go to the party, you know, you have your rap party, and and a lot of people like that. I mean, they want to go. It's like, you know, when you're like, you're really cold and you come in and you drink something warm, and it sucks to be cold, but it feels so great when you're drinking something warm later on. So I think it's a little bit like that. Like you bust your ass, and then like the lighting guy on Nishimura's films, he kind of got upset later on after they'd done a couple films. He's like, we're not doing the rap party. I mean, those were the best parts of the shoot. Was not the shoot, was like going through hell and then having the greatest party ever, you know. And then he was like complaining later on that they Nishimura just got, I guess, maybe bored of doing that. You know, and those, let me tell you, those parties get insane. So,
well, besides wanting to thank you for the info, I also want to thank you for doing the subtitles, because indirectly you're the reason I'm in Japan, because I could understand the movies that I discovered because you're responsible for most of those subtitles. So a lot of people in the West have to thank you for being able to watch those movies to start with, you know, Stacy and all that stuff.
I love the work.
No, he's true. It's true, Norman. It's because of the work that you've done on putting those subtitles in. A lot of us over in the West, whether we've watched the movies legally or illegally, have been able to been introduced to this world of J-horror and splatter and just craziness. It's been awesome. So thank you.
Especially
from
the
everyone out there. Thank you.
Yeah, especially the movies you worked on are exactly those ones I started with to you know, develop that journey where I'm now right now. So that's all, you know, you're part of that. So thank you for that.
And thanks for the Godzilla stuff.
I would recommend reading my book.
You're 100% right.
No, because my book actually talks about how I got into this business. And really my first set, this is a photo I took from Gamera 3 set. So my first set was Gamera 3 after Fangoria gave me the assignment after I had interviewed the director in between Gamera 2 and 3, and they're like, can you do a set visit? And then I did Godzilla. So this book covers like 98 to 2001, you know. And then I actually had Stacy in this book originally, but I took it out because the narrative didn't really fit. You know, my first meeting with Tomomatsu, which was so different from being at Toho and then going to this guy's like production office for Stacy. Thank you, Dan. So anyway, this really covers the Japanese daily life. It's like a journal style. So it's just like, as you see here, like 16 February 2000, you know, and then
hold on. Let's get you back to full screen. There we go.
Like that. See, I'm heading to Toho.
Yeah, I can see that. 16 Feb. I'm heading to Tokyo. Yeah.
Right. That's when I was in Osaka, and then I moved to Tokyo when my friend got the job. Kaneko Shusuke got the job directing Godzilla. Then I moved to Tokyo. He helped me move to Shimokitazawa. and I was there for 10 years. Yeah, right.
Gentlemen, we're coming on to 2 hours, so I'm going to have to start wrapping us up now. Wilco, we've got a couple of things we need to do before we wrap up. So what would you like to do first?
Well, I think we should save our what we did in the meantime for next episode. I think we can start next episode with that. But one thing we definitely have to do today, and after I already thanked our guest for his involvement in my career and my development. So now I can go back to selfish stuff for Asian film fans, which is we had a giveaway last Christmas. And for that giveaway, we asked a question, because for Tokyo Homestay Massacre, the question was, and we showed it to you, what is the most egregious VFX shot in this movie, and how would you have done it differently? And we asked you...
Hey, Wilco, just stop for a second.
What?
Do you reckon you can ask Katie to get off YouTube so that we can get your bandwidth back?
There's no one on YouTube at the moment.
Your bandwidth is very low.
Is just very bad, I guess. Am I blocky?
A little bit blocky and a little bit framey.
Okay, but I am. You can hear me, right?
Beautifully. Yep.
That's the only important thing. So if I show something, you just see 1 pixel, but that's fine. So the thing is, that's why we will do the what we did in the meantime, and which DVDs we bought next time. So we asked you people to put in the comments what is the most crazy VFX shot of the film, and how would you have done it differently. However, what we didn't know is that you cannot put comments in the descriptions under a video when we are live streaming. So because of that, how many comments did we get, Dan?
Well, we got 1.
1, which means now I saw in the chat that were more, but those were the ones that were reacting immediately to the question. There is one that actually came back in the 2 months that we were on break to actually write in the comment section the answer to the question. And I like it when people follow rules, even if our rules are very bad and not well prepared. So the problem is, I now go to our live show and I see 0 comments. So where's the comment, Dan?
Hold on, that should still be there. Do you need to read it out? Do you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. If you could do something else for a moment, I will try and find that comment.
I am waiting for the comment right now. What do you mean I have to do something else?
Well, you got to give me a moment. I was expecting you to
all
have
right.
this
But
ready.
anyway, just to remind for whoever that one comment is, and of course it also, I'm wondering for the answer to that comment, not only will he be getting this pixelated Tokyo Homestay Massacre DVD Blu-ray, but I will also throw in this Ouija Japan Blu-ray as well. 2 CultureSHOCK Japan productions from Tokyo Bay Films, courtesy of Tokyo Bay Films, and still a Merry Christmas to wish. So
the comment was the sword fight when our heroes being slashed to bits, but Joe cut on his body. I think that should say no cut on his body. Could have done at least some slash marks on his body. Also, the bit where you see one of the cops with blood supposedly pumping out of the neck wound, where you see the blood splurt come out from behind the neck, I would have him holding his throat to cover the angle and have the blood spurting through his fingers just as the camera pans away.
Right.
I think Glenn wants to work on your movie.
Well, I must say that I'm surprised, because last time I saw him already a little bit in the in the chat, and I saw the answer that was in the chat was not the right one. But this time he actually gave the answer I was thinking about. That was the right answer. And I do like his suggestion, because I did not think about that when I did the VFX for that. Besides that, for the second thing, that could not be changed, because that slash on the neck I added at the end in post. That was never the idea. That was just a last minute post decision on my end. But the other thing, the slashes, that's actually a very good suggestion. So it is deserved that you will get Tokyo Homestay Massacre Blu-ray and the Ouija Japan Blu-ray coming toward you, Glenn.
Well done, Glenn.
From you to give us an address so I know where to send these babies to. So beautiful. Yeah, we have a winner. So Merry Christmas to Glenn.
Beautiful. Glenn, you can either contact me directly on Facebook, or if you've got Wilco, maybe chat to Wilco directly for that
Yes,
one. So
please.
congratulations, Glenn. Great answer.
Yep.
And try and get that before Wilco destroys your copies of the movies.
No,
he did ask me, are they region free?
They are, I believe.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they're region free. They're both region 0, and they're also both sealed. So I cannot destroy them even if I want to.
All right. Well, I've had a blast for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
Some of these stories I never thought I would ever hear, and
I'm so surprised by all the content.
Great.
I mean, the inside. That's perfect. Thank you, Norm.
No, thank you for letting me share this. That's why, I want to do this follow-up book, and cover these films, other films that I've been on, because I mean, not like I'm going to toot my own horn, but I mean, I really involved myself, and one of the things I like about being in Japan is doing things I couldn't do back home, and I viewed all of this as like, a great adventure, and I'm really, it's even, it's 20 years ago for some of this stuff, even 10 years ago, it's really changed a lot in the 10 years because of social media and cell phones, and well, the pandemic has really thrown everyone for a loop, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like it was still, the foreigners have really increased, so there's a lot more, when I go to these sets, I mean, even today, there's still not a lot of, non-Japanese people on the sets, but back then it was, kind of a unique thing. So I really was glad for the opportunity to try to, in some way, open up these films to a wider audience through my writing in Fangoria, or just being involved on the set. Even like on a Godzilla film, the producer Tomiyama said to me one day, he said, I'm really glad that you're here, because it's letting the staff and cast know that Godzilla films and Japanese films are not just for the domestic market. You're a good reminder for them. And I think that was another thing, like with Tomomatsu, when I would be on the sets there, they would make them think, well, this is not just for Japan. We've got a bigger audience we have to think about. So it was really, no, I mean, I'm glad that I could, do something like that for my adopted country, and now I have these stories I'd like to share with everybody, that I think, for people who are interested in Japanese cinema, that I think that, I feel they're interesting. And I'm glad that you guys have responded to my stories and invited me on your show. I mean, it's really, I never thought that, when moving here, that I would be doing this kind of stuff. And I'm really, glad about my decision to come to Japan, and I have to say, both my parents are not living anymore, but my mom said that when I did get into this, she said, I always knew that you were going to do something with film, and I'm glad that you found that, and I think they're a little not so sure about me moving to Japan, but in the end, in a roundabout way, I wound up in the movie business, so, but anyway,
yes, but
well, I don't know if it's the best business.
Thank you for everything. At least
it's an interesting business to be in, if you like, if you like every day to be a little different than the day before, that's what I like about it.
Well, Norman, when you've got that next book up and running, and the 6 months down the track, it'd be great to have you back.
Years down the track.
Years down.
Let's have you back in 6 months anyway for something different. I'm sure we can find a new topic if you're interested. And
definitely, I had a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah, so, thank you again, Dan. Your last words.
My last words are: we'll see everyone in 2 weeks, where we'll have another special guest. We will have Percy from the Tokyo on Film podcast. He's going to be talking to us about Machine Girl. So it's a great follow-up to this episode. And I think we're going to have even more, well, maybe not even more fun, because I don't know if we can have more fun than what we've had with Norman tonight.
You don't say that with the guest right there, Dan.
I know,
we're
sorry.
Have more fun with the next one.
I think I said the same thing too. We're going to have some fun with Percy as well. But Norman's stories tonight have been incredible.
Educational, like, for me at least. So I hope everyone learned something from it. And
we did.
The man changed lives. He doesn't even know.
Exactly. And Glenn says thank you. I assume he's saying
Glenn.
thank you to
Get
Norman.
my book. Buy my book. Buy my book. No, and I only say buy my
I'll
book
buy it.
because when you read the book, I think you'll be astonished that the information is here inside here has never been printed in English or in the Western world. I mean, you know, like no one's written about the daily life on a Japanese movie set in such detail, you know.
Dan,
So
we have to do a book review. I see.
yeah, book review.
We have to
It's a
do a
great
book
idea.
review.
Yeah,
Yeah, do a
and then
book review and then have me back on.
then we can
Yeah.
surprise Norman by putting him back on.
And
Exactly.
they're like, oh, we hate Godzilla.
Yeah. What are you talking about? This doesn't make It's just-
We found
Anyway,
a grammatical error in your book.
yeah. This
Anyway,
comma doesn't belong here.
Gentlemen, at 2 hours, I think I'm going to have to
Yeah,
call it
we're
a
good.
night.
Let you guys go.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us, Norman. Don't leave just as yet, but we will say good night to everyone who's watching
Yes.
on Asian Film Fans. Thank you again. Thank you again to Norman. Thank you to Wilco. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks.